Hello, welcome to Soulprint Intuitive Tarot for September 14th. So we're going to take a look at the whole weekly Trump scenario. We're talking September 13th through the 19th. As things become more volatile do they become. I've given these cards a really good clearing and shufflings because I wanted to ensure that we sort of weren't dragging any energy from, other readings forward. So I think we're ready to go. Come on down. I have a question. We're just going to give it a couple more. Alrighty, here we go. Trump this week, Trump this week, Trump this week. Okay, this one wants to stay, so we'll put that over there and see what it wants to tell us. Okay. Okay. So last week's weekly reading was called, Secrets Coming Out or More Secrets Coming Out. And I don't frankly see that changing as things continue to unfold. The bad news, the backroom information, the side deals, the absolute abuse of campaign donations or inaugural donations, more and more is going to continue to come out. And frankly, it's going to come out at a rather, sort of like alarming pace. And it's going to, what you're going to hear this week is a lot of Trump going back to, or continuing to stay back is almost a better way to say it. That sort of, this is what I do, this is what I did before, I won, therefore it's the perfect strategy. Except it's 4 years later, everybody is exhausted, fatigued, frightened, sick, dead. And people are just less likely to sort of believe the ramblings of a lunatic, okay? Because that's honestly where we're at right now. It really does feel like that's the sort of state we're in as far as his mind goes. Make no mistake, he's all about holding on to whatever he can hold on to, and whether that is his money, his family money, his presidency, relationships with dictators, so he has somewhere to run and hide. But bottom line is, this is going to be a week where you're going to see a very desperate man trying desperately to hang on to what he believes and perceives as his. And so that's kind of going to be interesting to see how that, kind of continues to unfold. A lot of victim, okay, he's going to be back to playing the victim and nobody appreciates me. And what was the last thing I heard him say? Oh, I deserve a third term as president because everybody was just so plain mean to me in the first term. Well, duh. Maybe that means people don't want you in the office of the president. I don't know. Could be wrong. Just my thinking. And it feels very much as if there's something going on in his head. Could this just be headaches? Could this be trying to figure out new strategies or new ways to approach things? Could this just be an absolute abundance of stress and anger? but there's going to be definitely kind of some goings on there. Now, whether we actually see that play out, or it just remains behind the scenes, but there's definitely something going on with his head, and so confused. He is so confused. He is literally just in a state now where whatever comes out of his mouth in that moment is his truth, his reality. And if the complete opposite comes out of his mouth in 94 seconds, that's okay. That's his truth and that's his reality now. And so there's going to be this real disconnect between what he says, does, thinks is appropriate, and what is viewed that way. So at one of his rallies, I think it was on Saturday, he made the statement that now that all these books have come out, and now all these people, who are telling his secrets, who, shouldn't be telling his secrets, his statement was, well, that's fine. Now I can get really vicious. What was he before? A choir boy? But that's the energy. It's that ramping up. It's that aggressive push, push, push. Because first of all, those that surround him are too frightened to push back. So that's what's going on there. And so his response to more bad news, more bad press, another bad week, it's just going to be to really, really push and double down. And I'm trying to think, but I think that we are now like on the third or fourth consecutive week where the news has just not been good for Trump. I mean, even after his convention, there was no bump up. There was nothing, except those who think he is amazing still think so, and everybody else has decided they're not going to vote for him. So but he's going to keep being bombastic, rude, arrogant, and self-focused and self-controlled. It's all about him. Well, isn't this interesting? There's going to be trouble behind the scenes with his family, with his children, with something going on with Melania or perhaps Ivanka. But we've definitely got a woman, and I'm seeing it this time as absolute family, who is sort of really in gear. Her movements are all about getting herself really, really protected and safe and stabilized financially, because she sees the tower coming down and she wants to ensure that she is fine. Okay, nobody else. She doesn't care. She's just doing everything she can to strengthen or solidify her own situation. And, I actually think that I'm getting both energies from both of them. So Ivanka feels to me as if so this is the thing, she really is cut out of the same cloth as Donald is. So in her own kind of crazy way, she also lives in that state of, we can pull this out, we can do whatever we want, we're entitled, we're privileged, that nonsense. And so she's busy trying to ensure that going forward, her assets are covered, her stuff is taken care of, and that she minimizes whatever legal jeopardy she may or may not be in, because she sees it coming. As far as Melania, not that different. She continues to play the role. And this is it. I don't have any love loss for Melania Trump. I think that her and Donald are a terrific match, because I don't think that either of them, well, let me put it this way. Maybe they deserve each other, and in some way that's probably a good thing, because then at least they're not inflicting their craziness on the rest. They left it within their marriage. But there is also something's going on behind the scenes, and she also appears to be trying to get some strategies working for her to figure out how to just keep herself safe right now. So that's interesting. I'm not quite sure what that's about. Maybe we'll find out this week or in the coming weeks. But there's a lot of bickering and scraping going on, not only, unfortunately, not only in his family, but among his aides, among his supporters, among his donors, um, uh, around senators and Republicans, House Republicans. They're starting to see that he is not turning this thing around, and this is what you always have to keep in mind. Um, all of those people, around him, except for his personal sycophants, right? I mean, except for those flunkies that he brought in because they were all the best people and knew more than anybody. Um, they all are seeing the writing on the wall, and um, there's a lot of agitation, worry, concern, a lot of frantic communication going back and forth, as far as them trying to secure their own political futures as they see what is literally a big tsunami coming at them. Um, so there's going to be a lot of kind of stress kind of stuff going on this week. Okay, so going forward, he's just going to, there's more bad news coming down the pike for him. There really, really is. Um, I don't know if there's sort of any legal decisions that are needing to be made, whether they are in his personal crazy world or whether they are, apparently the government. But there's more bad news coming to him. So whether it is legal, whether it is financial, whether it's just the abundance of secrets that are coming out. And this is this is sort of the crazy thing about Trump, right? Is he says what he says. And he really, really doesn't comprehend why it's dangerous, why it's supposed to be top secret, why there are certain people he just shouldn't be bragging to. He doesn't get it. And so, as these little bombshells drop, in many ways, his first reaction is almost like, what? What did I do? What's everybody all upset about? Why are people screaming? Because he doesn't get it. He just doesn't sort of comprehend it. And so, and frankly, the more they try to explain it to him and try to get him to kind of just settle down a little bit, nobody's even trying to get him to conform or even listen, to facts. But they're not making any headway because he just is, he is like running around as if he, I don't know, had 4 or 5 espressos or something in his system. He is just so revved up and he is revving so high and it is so frantic and the energy is so like scared and volatile and angry and confused. And so he is not honestly able to find his own sense of balance or stability. So definitely, it's gonna be kind of a really, I guess tricky week would be the word I want to use. Okay. Yeah, more information coming out about money, about deals that were made, about people behind the scenes. So you got the whistleblower. Don't be surprised if there's something else coming down the pike. And also, don't be surprised if there is some even crazier um, news or announcements coming out of the Justice Department this week. So, he's already got Bill Barr acting as his personal attorney because, he didn't like what that Jean E. Carroll said about him insulting her. And so somehow the government has to step up and pick up that bill. There's going to be more information coming out of justice. So whether they're taking on something else, possibly that they lose something that's before the courts right now. I know their things have not been going particularly well lately. So, and do not forget, as people kind of understand what's going on, the amount of like things being destroyed, things being really, really well hidden, things being, sort of cleaned up. That's actually the feeling I'm getting, like sanitizing. There is like that kind of stuff going on pretty diligently in the background. So that's sort of interesting. But again, more news about money, about something coming out of the Justice Department, and definitely not, again, not going to be in his favor. It's also really interesting that, of course, the Biden campaign is now um, out outdoing him in terms of donations coming in. So they have way more money going forward than Trump does. And he's already kind of skimping on his advertising and stuff. Because, of course, if you have $1.1 billion, but you're pretty sure that even though good people gave that to you in tens and twenties and like that, but that's okay. It belongs in your pocket. So that's what they've done. They've taken the money and they've sort of siphoned it off and funneled it off and sent it to a bunch of crazy places in a bunch of different ways. And so now they really don't have what it takes to successfully move this campaign forward in the last 40 plus days. Like they really, they're kind of running out of steam. And what the only thing they have left is Donald Trump on a soapbox screaming his fool head off about the sky really is, purple, and you can only trust what I tell you. Sorry about that. Um, so that's what they've got. That's what the Republicans have left to work with. Um, they've got this guy yelling and screaming. That's what they have to go into the last 40 plus days with. Yeah, just more information coming out about mismanagement of funds, mismanagement of money going places it should not have gone, millions upon millions of dollars that were basically charged to the government by a vast variety of Trump properties for a vast variety of ridiculous reasons. But there's definitely a moment of reckoning coming. This is telling you that he's got many big, significant disappointments coming down the pike, and so far, from what we can understand about Donald Trump and his emotional responses and makeup, he's not going to handle that very well. He tends to get a wee bit cranky. So, yeah. There, this is the thing. People are trying to contain him. People are trying to get him to calm down, but he's not going to. Okay. So I want you all to like really start preparing yourself for the fact that we are in the home stretch of insanity. Okay. We just are. That's what we're going to see. Words like unbelievable and unprecedented and astonishing are not going to be big enough words. So there's a volatility around him now as things tighten up that frankly he's having a hard time sort of controlling it, and for the most part I'm not even sure he wants to control it, but definitely it's like he's lost his sense of balance. Like it really, energetically, it feels like he's walking like along like a wooden beam, um, and his balance is very, very wobbly, and it doesn't feel like there really are any safety nets below to catch him. Yeah, more stuff coming out. Yeah. Excuse me. So he's going to be defensive, and he's going to be agitated. The sort of campaign type rallies are going to continue to ratchet up because in some ways they really don't want him in the White House. And this tends to keep him pacified and at least relatively calm. Problem is he's spewing plain sewage right out of his mouth, and there's nobody around him to, put a hose on him and tell him to shut up. So you're gonna see that really aggressive in your face. I'm never mind doubling down. I'm quadrupling down. I'm coming after you. It's just that really angry and entitled sort of energy. And frankly, it's not being very well received. So as he continues to try somehow to figure out a way to get some solid ground under him, he more and more is going to recognize that there isn't the money, there isn't the strength, there isn't the power people behind him the way they once were. And he's starting to really, really feel abandoned. And I think, you know, it's a different thing kind of being aware on some level that maybe you lost that supporter or that donor or whatever. But for some reason, energetically, it really feels like there is sort of a moment of awareness or reckoning where he actually really realizes that he doesn't have the money for the campaign to push forward. He certainly is not going to give the campaign any money, despite what craziness comes out of his mouth. Um, and he doesn't have the support, and kind of like he's actually going to figure out he's on much trickier ground, much more risky ground. As this thing moves forward, he's starting to realize that, wow, you know what, those walls are actually coming in at me. It's about the money, it's about the money, it's about the money. It is always about the money. And it is always about this sense of defensiveness. You've got the overreacting emotions going on this week. So kind of, like what's different than last week? Well, he's decided that he's been playing nice up until now, and now he's going to get serious and get mean. So you can expect an even heightened sense of that sort of volatility around him. There is a coming awareness that he really is losing significant ground at a time when it's going to be almost impossible for him to recover. And this is the thing. If Biden wins by a point or 2 points, and whether that's sort of, in terms of the federal election or whether that's sort of state by state, it's much easier to sort of mess up, I'm going to say, some of the results. But when you are trailing 8, 10, 12 points behind, you can't make that up with a little bit of Russian interference. And I'm not saying that the Russians are not capable. They absolutely are capable, and they're kind of cause as much trouble as they can. But the bigger the spread becomes, the more comes the realization that, wait a minute, this can't be sort of manipulated to want to lean one way or the other. There isn't enough wiggle room, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Can also anticipate some more information coming out. And this is interesting because either it's coming out about things that were offered to Trump or backroom deals or more tricks. And it's not only more tricks, there's going to be a couple of more releases, I feel, of just things that he has said. that qualify right under that label of disgusting, insensitive, completely lacking any moral fiber. I mean, come on, we all know the list. But there's something else coming out this week, and they're not going to be able to spin it. And this is the thing. There wasn't a way for them to spin the suckers and losers thing. There sure as hell is not a way for them to spin, I always meant to play it down even though it's deadly, and I knew that in January. But he can't. I mean, they try, they come up with this sort of nonsense, but it doesn't spin it. And it doesn't really change it. And this is going to be another week like last week and the week before, where stuff keeps rolling on out and there isn't any sort of a serious pushback, because there is nothing that they can push back with. When you have tapes and audio of this guy talking and saying these incredible things, it's really hard to say, no, I didn't say that. And frankly, because the whole conversation is recorded, it's almost hard to say, well, it was taken out of context. I mean, that, of course, is assuming that Trump is actually capable of speaking in context at any given time. And I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I certainly have not seen any evidence that that could happen. So for those of you who were kind of wondering why I kept putting this Queen of Swords to the side, as you know, this is very often my card for Kamala Harris. And here shows up my Joe Biden card, and here sits the victory card on them. So as far as this week's goes, it looks like the Biden-Harris ticket is going to get some good news. It sounds like there's going to be some upticks in polling numbers and support. And as for Trump, it's going to be a much, much kind of trickier week. Okay, so on Wednesday, here at Soulprint Intuitive Tarot, I am going to be doing a combination pendulum card reading. I know that you guys have been asking, so my intention at this point with the pendulum is to look at sort of some swing states, states that are leaning in a direction that they normally wouldn't be leaning. And then we'll gear down and we'll ask some specific questions about Trump and Pence and McConnell and Graham and like that. So I'm going to wrap this up for now. I thank you so much for being here. I thank you for your support, your kind words. It's all just amazing. And so I really, really do thank you for my established subscribers, all of my new subscribers, the comments, the thumbs up, the shares. It's all brilliant. And I'm very grateful. Until next time, take care, be well, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.